Nice to see you. Yes, sir. Would you start this festivities off tonight?
I'd be happy to.
Thank you.
Thank you. On our agenda, we kind of have this outline that we have pursued and are continuing to pursue the broken windows policy of community policing. We really have three distinct initiatives, if you will, underneath that, or areas that we're looking at. We have the Hilltops Neighborhood Strategic Safety Plan, keeping tabs of our crime statistics citywide and certainly in the Hilltops, and then the proactive neighborhood cleanup program. So I'm going to jump right into the updated Hilltops Neighborhood Strategic Safety Plan, updated today, October 7th. As council will recall, this was first presented to you on September 2nd. I'm going to get a little bit of help from, probably a lot of help from the chief and Chris and Sean and Mary Beth, and we're going to go from there. The first item, or we broke this as council recall into different categories of knowing that there's not just one step or initiative we can take that will turn things around in our Hilltops neighborhood. We need a number of different initiatives woven into a plan, and then we work them as a plan strategically. So under resources, council will recall we had a recent addition of 4 new officers, and then an increased presence since September 2nd in the Hilltops, and internal designation of hotspot areas. And I would ask Chief McCafferty to discuss those areas in a little bit more detail. What is his impressions of our additional patrols, additional overtime, modified foot patrols, the impact of the 4 new officers, how they're doing in their development with us, and also the hotspot areas. So Chief, if you would, I appreciate it.
We're back to 37 officers. Officer Stossel is retired, so we interviewed, and we've selected one person, so he's going to continue with the hiring process. So that's what we're going on the next couple of weeks. So by the time the next month, we should have another officer hired. We have the extra patrols out on the Hilltops. As far as the hot spots, they change from night to night, depending on where people are congregated. So they're watching those areas. The officer, three of the 4 new officers, one is taking classes out down, should be done early next year. 3 of them are in the field training program. They're working, one's assigned to each term, and then they just rotate, so they're not on the same not on the same day like the whole 15 weeks or afternoon, the whole 15 weeks or midnight. So they've been switched because they're a third of the way through. I think that covers it.
Council, any questions for myself or the chief on that category? If not, we'll go on to infrastructure.
All right, is this the hotspot area? Yes, yeah, it is a hotspot. It's a very hotspot. How about if I give you a scenario? Say there's this club, and they do not abide by what the state tells them or what we tell them, and they just continue to do the same thing over and over again. Are we going to push the issue, or is someone going to help us with this issue?
If I can answer that one.
Good.
You know, an after-hours club
That's it.
for us to get in there and close them down properly. We need the assistance of the liquor control people. And we talked to them on numerous occasions, and it's my understanding that they have been notified, and with their heavy schedule, they will be back in town again, because we need to get in there. We need their agents to make a buy, document it. After that night, they'll come back out. They'll meet with us, and then we follow up with a raid where we go in and confiscate everything. So, but as police, a big difference is between an after-hours joint, in a bar is, as I understand it, our policemen can walk into a bar, if it's after hours, and if it's 3 o'clock, and they have arresting powers. But a place like that, we have to go through the liquor agency to get in there, and we have not forgotten about it.
Well, I understand that, and I know that. I just want to, my concern is someone might get hurt again.
Right.
And you know what happened last time, this establishment, and I just, is there any way to expedite this process?
Leading to the chief,
And I know that,
yeah, we've talked, in fact, I just called them up last week, the agents, because when they came in, they did a great job for us, and they're very concerned about that place too, but with their schedule and workload. I think the other thing that happened the last few years, they used to have their own division, and now they're under state control people. We used to get them down here quicker before, with the state budget cuts for the last few years.
when I found out, I told the people, no, it's not happening. And that's when I talked with you, and I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, I understand.
Yeah, we make a weekly report on that place.
So we're documenting everything, and,
Yes, sir.
okay, all right, thank you. All right, I'm done with hotspots there.
And Chief, I guess, just to, I suppose, what are your impressions of the additional foot patrols? The impact, what's your perception of the impact we're making?
Oh, with the extra
Or not
patrol,
making?
with the extra patrol on the hilltops.
Right.
It's definitely made an impact. It's overtime, but we just don't have enough officers at this time. The staff that so that it's covered.
Well, I think we made that choice to make that
Right.
investment. But you're saying the returns are,
Yeah, I think they're,
I don't want to put words in your mouth.
yeah, it's working.
Going on to infrastructure, closing of the park, I guess I've used the term mothballing. That was completed on September 26th. Equipment's been removed, signs have been installed. It's maintained on a weekly basis. Mary Beth, I guess since we've done that, what are we seeing out there? Anything? Okay. Same sheet, is it? Are people are not congregated? No. Okay. One of the things that we felt was important to look at was street lighting in Pleasant Heights and Lakeville, and the need for potential cost of additional street lighting in the neighborhoods. Chris has ordered maps of the street lighting system on the hilltops from AEP. I know that he's working with the local office there to get them delivered as soon as possible. Chris, once you receive them, it's my understanding, we're going to coordinate, the chief's going to help us and identify existing streetlights that are not functioning, in need of repair, need of replacement, and we'll report them to AEP, and then arrange to meet with local AEP representative to identify affordable options. Well, let's stop there. We're going to identify we're gonna identify the streetlights that we have that aren't working. And we're gonna identify where we don't have streetlights at all. And where we have power in those areas where we will need to add power and to add lights. Do you have any comments on that as to how that process, because that seems to me to be an extremely important aspect of improving the overall neighborhoods, particularly from a safety standpoint.
Yeah, we all know that lighting makes places safer, makes neighborhoods and facilities safer. And we all know that on the hilltops, there are a lot of areas, many areas that don't have street lighting. And so what we like to do is, once we go through this process of getting the maps, identifying what those areas are, there are alternatives to your standard street lighting, which is your wooden pole with a big arm on it, that are affordable and decorative and can really enhance a neighborhood and not only make it safer, it can enhance the aesthetic environment. It can even improve property values. So it's multifaceted. But looking at this decorative lighting, I think is an important part of the whole scheme and plan for the hilltops, and at least seeing what our options are and where we go from there with different programs that AEP may have regarding the decorative lighting on the streets.
I think it's one thing, as Chris points out, it's just, we can add lighting, but I think we should be very sensitive with the kind of lighting, and there are options. We want to improve that neighborhood, and I don't think putting a lot of overheads is going to be a good idea. That's not the way we need to go. So that's, Chris, you're anticipated, when, I suppose I'm looking towards the budget, 2015, we all are. And we want to implement this. I guess we need to know what the price tag is, and then, like anything, we'll have to do it in phases. But any idea when we'll be able to nail that down? I'm hopeful we'll be able to do it by budget time.
I'm hoping that as soon as I get the maps, I can schedule something with AEP pretty quickly and go over the various lighting options. And it should take too long to get numbers, so I'm hoping that we can, at least if not by budget, and the budget is soon approaching, but if we can't get it by then, at least by the end of the year.
Any questions?
With that plan then on the updating lighting, especially in the residential areas, will we do outreaches to those particular neighborhoods that will be affected? The reason I'm asking is it has always been my understanding, say for example in the Manhattan Addition area behind Paul Bevan's, in fact, Gary, you're familiar with this. Brady Estates.
There are no lights.
There are no lights, and the residents back there really don't want lighting back there. So we would need their input too, if they want the lighting or not. Attitude, mindsets might have changed since then, but I think we should do outreaches and have some public input on that.
Well, what happens, the lighting runs through the backyards, because all the utilities run in the backyards. In fact,
Well, on the islands that we own, there's no.
yeah, there is no, yeah. But like, I know some neighbors, like myself and my three other neighbors, we bought a light and put it right in the middle so we light our backyard. And I have another neighbor who's done it too.
There, I think that is a wonderful suggestion, and it's one we have to do. It's this is a partnership. We're not just, it's not a one-way street. And I suppose that works with the plan in the areas where we have continual meeting with the CDC, working with the neighborhood. But yes, and obviously if we're going to do something or try to pursue something like decorative lights or something a little nicer, and that's a subjective term, but it's still, obviously, I think we want people's input in those neighborhoods as to what would they like. The next item that we're looking at is the security cameras, and I think Chief, you're coordinating, selecting street locations, costs, schedules of installation. We would again need budget numbers. These are not budgeted for 2014. This would have to be budgeted in 2015. But Chief, can you address that in a little bit more detail? The cameras and cost and where we would go with them.
It's about $5,000 a camera. Right now, we have one camera that's not being used. We have a location where we're going to put that up, we've decided. I'll check with Chris next year when the grants come out to see if we can get any grant money as we did before in the designated areas, low-income housing areas.
And I think it may have been 2 meetings ago, but I think, Kenny, your question has kind of stuck with me for a little bit on those cameras. And I keep asking the chief that question too, is, where are we going to get the bang for the buck? And who's going to watch the cameras? Can you address that a little bit?
Yeah. I'm trying to think. The shooting on the hilltop, where the 2 brothers were shot, there's a camera up there. And right after it happened, Calandris, the dispatcher, was reviewing that to see if anybody ran past. The camera is not going to cure everything, but it is a tool. Sometimes we get good information, sometimes we don't. They watch a lot on midnight, and they catch a lot of people, because there's a good shot at a certain convenience store. And they actually watch people shooting up, and they go down and arrest them. So it depends, on the distance and how far away people are, how quick the dispatcher can get to the camera to zoom it in. But I mean, they do work.
So in that particular instance, the 2 boys from Columbus, they were able to see something.
They could see something, but it wasn't enough to identify who shot them.
How much of a deterrent?
You know what, I don't know how I can answer that, because if we've had people commit crimes right underneath them, I don't know whether they forget they're there, or, but, when they do that, you get them right there on camera, but I don't know why they forget that they're there, or they just don't care. But
I guess what I'd be counsel with, we would, is that we still have evaluated. That one is still one that, I think we need to get a return on our investment, but then again, what we're investing in is safety. And I know we're throwing a lot at this, and I don't want to say it the way that we're throwing it, but it's one more step we can take.
What's one camera cost?
around $5,000.
$5,000.
$5,000. What's it cost to keep that camera for a year? Just the electricity, which is minimal, and,
I don't know. I can find that out.
okay, well, one camera, $5,000. I'm just thinking more, another route. That's all. Thank you.
You do have a recurring cost on the fiber optic right for the
Yes.
internet.
But it wouldn't be worth the salary of another police officer, is what I'm getting at. Right.
Right. 4 or 5.
That's where I'm going with that. Okay, thank you.
Crime Check Hotline signage, Chief, do you want to just run with that one? I know we're going forward with the membership, scheduled to commence the program on October 15th. These are the signs I think Mike brought to our attention in that program. You're looking at 10 signs, is that correct?
14 altogether. When you subscribe to the program, they give you X amount for promotional materials, so we get 4 signs with it. So I figured we'll need to purchase 10. I don't have a cost on that yet because I haven't gotten that back from the company. But it will start October 15th. Gary reviewed the agreement. They'll start out with informational material that, can be put in stores, convenience stores, just to get the word out. It's the same program JMHA uses. Since our last meeting, I've gotten 2 tips regarding JMHA property that was passed on to my colleagues.
So theoretically, we're looking at 5 signs in each neighborhood. 10 total.
Yeah. Yeah, they're going to be put in heavy foot traffic areas so people can see them.
Any questions?
I think that's good.
The next item, again, just to reiterate, again, part of this hilltop safety program, obviously, will be the demolition program. Overall, 70 dilapidated vacant structures are going to be removed. Chris, I've got 50 plus here. Do we know how many in the hilltop neighborhoods? A little bit more.
Yes, I don't, I have information at the office, I have it broken down by neighborhood, so I can provide that, but 50 is an approximate good number between both hilltops.
And those, with the bond, I know Stacy's not here, but we've got to work through the bond, the underwriting, having that, the whole, getting the proceeds and everything. But theoretically, if we started at the beginning of the year, I think we would one time set about a year and a half
Probably.
to get through that.
We'd like to set them out for bidding in batches, in groups by location, so a contractor can bid, for example, on houses that are within close proximity to one another, and hopefully reduce our costs.
Could council receive a copy of the list of all the houses?
Yep.
Absolutely.
Looking at our initiatives, Chief, a couple of these items, continued enforcement of existing ordinances, curfews, that ongoing effort, and then your outreach to the school districts. You wanna touch on this?
I've been talking to Mr. Crozier. Last week, Captain Anderson and Patrolman Burris and I attended FBI training in Zanesville. It was an active shooter class. If something goes wrong in the schools, it addressed that. Steubenville City Schools have a plan. We had to review that. And we're going to, all of the Steubenville police officers are going to take a tour of every school in Steubenville because, either because of age or just because none of them went to Steubenville City Schools. We need them to know the layout of the schools in case something would happen. It'd be better to know what the school looks like inside prior to than during. And so we'll be working, but I'll be working with Mr. Crozier on that.
Just the ordinances are,
Yeah, the curfews, yeah, there have been, I think last week there was 5 curfew arrests. Not arrests, but warnings given. The week prior, there was 3. And it pertained, the 3 I know of had to do with the new curfew. They were out.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, the ages, I think there was a 13-year-old and 14-year-old out after 10 o'clock, and so those are working.
Do you take them to their house, or? You just
Well,
tell them about
actually, I was there. There was 3 girls, one was 16, she was driving. There was 1 13 and 1 14, and I allowed them to call their mother for their guardian, and she came down, brought a driver with them, and then took them out, and they were issued the first warning. So that is working.
On On a criminal nuisance ordinance, have we had anything on that yet?
No.
No, not yet.
I'm sorry, that goes back to the question, I apologize.
That's okay.
Go ahead and finish that.
Not a piece of that.
Was the parent aware of the curfew?
Yeah,
Was she
yeah,
aware?
well, it wasn't the parents' authority.
Okay.
Yeah, well, because she yelled at the daughters.
Okay,
Well,
good, okay, okay.
the girls, I told you not to come down here.
Got it.
Um,
Wanted to know if our parents are,
Yeah.
yeah, they're pushing back on me. Okay, thank you, that's all.
If we could, Sean and Chris, the proactive neighborhood cleanup program. Address that.
We continue to progress. I think since the last time we met, probably another 4 or 5 blocks covered. 1600 block of Oregon.
Do you have reports?
I have what Chris said, so we sent out what we targeted thing here. That hasn't yet. Well, Chris has been in Chris's office. We compiled all our stuff under one report now, that we did last time. So anything new will be just at the next level. So in order, sequence of order, what we're doing. I think the last one, we were in the 1600 block of Oregon, 1200 blocks of Wellesley, 1300 blocks of Oregon. All that's on page 11 and 10. Continue to progress. Probably what we're running into the most is that we're doing, again, with zoning and planning, the time just takes a little longer. It's a good 30 to 60 day window, depending on the court. Court is probably the biggest issue right now. We have a lot of people going to court. Just because you go to court doesn't mean the problem's getting solved. It just means they're coming to court, maybe they're pleading not guilty, or somebody will plead guilty, they get a fine, they sell it back to fix the problem. So if they don't fix the problem, they got to revisit. We're working with myself, Anthony Bodo, Chris supervisor, Ron Gaylord, and Earl. I forget Earl's last name. He's new on board now, running the ropes. He's focusing pretty much in the Lake Bell area at this point. Had a couple repeat visits in the 1300 block of Wellesley, particularly with most of the weed issues in there. We did have one particular possible dumping issue that was going on in the 1400 block of Arlington that we dealt with. Actually, what was actually happening there, the gentleman was actually clearing some of the trees out of the way, and actually clearing some of the city line areas where the trees were getting there. So it's actually helping the city. I know it's his property, but it's basically helping the city by clearing some of the lot out. So, what else? Going to be meeting tomorrow, Mr. Boland, Mary Beth, myself, Chris, and Bob Barrett from the sanitation. Try to see what we can do about some of the issues where we're having piles of stuff that are piling up in our alleys. We have different issues. Some are that people are living there and the piles are there. We also have issues where there's just vacant lots and people are just dumping in the lots. So obviously the owners aren't, well, we hope the owners aren't, but obviously there's no one living here and the dumping is occurring. We're not always able to prove who's doing the dumping, but the fact is we have to remove the items. If we don't remove the items in a timely manner, then those things continue to pile up, become dump sites, and then become legacy piles, and we have rats and rodents and those kind of things. So we're going to try to address some of those issues about what do we do if we just don't have anybody cite those kind of issues. Try to come up with some other initiatives maybe to deal with some of the more law-abiding citizens who just have bulk items they still need to get rid of. There is no bulk pickup for the fall. We have to check with Bob if it is in the spring, but in case anyone asks, there is no bulk pickup in the fall. So it is the responsibility of the owners and the residents to get those items removed. We ask everybody not to dump them. Also want to just publicly say there is no tire collection scheduled this year for the city. JB Green Team may have something in the future, I don't know, but people have been putting tires up again by the Maryland Market water tower. I guess anticipating that we're going to have one, so we're going to try to get those removed there, but I just want to let the public know that don't put tires out up there because it's not a tire collection site. It's dumping. If you get caught, we're going to cite you for dumping the tires. That's about it. When I come back next meeting, I'll have a more detailed map of what we're doing up to this point. We've been doing it since April 29th, so we'll have a more detailed map of the extent of where we've been. But again, we just continue to progress one block at a time. took a little detour last week, and then we had to go to the 1600 block, there was about 5 or 6 houses we received the reports on, so we just skipped the 1200 block, went to the 600 block of work, and hopefully we revisit that. And I just keep track of where we've been, so we try not to miss a block and stuff. Any questions, or, yes, ma'am?
The meeting, you said you're gonna look at what we're gonna do with the situation because of the illegal dumping?
We're gonna look at what's going on and try to see if we come, some solutions we can come up with.
A couple of these have gotten a lot
Absolutely.
of hands down.
I'm
I can say where I'm going with it is just, we need to resolve it and charge somebody for it.
Okay,
That's,
at the same time, is there something that we can put together to give people? I couldn't tell you, if somebody called me and asked me, what do I do with this mattress? I don't know what to tell them to do. So is there something we can put together, figure it out, or what to do with this?
That's part of what we're gonna try at the meeting, I believe, is, because I had the same question, people call me and tell me, what do I do with it? I don't wanna dump it, but where do I take it? And they need to have solutions for that as well, so we need to be able to address those issues for people that want to do the right thing. Don't put the temptation to do the wrong thing in their hands either, so.
and I suppose if we could improve what we send out, with maybe our utility bill, we'd be able to have messaging, put information out there. So we're working on that.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Again, if anyone from council don't, I'm not, obviously I'm not limited to just those areas. The other days of the week, we're in other areas, we've been up in Grandview, I've covered something out in Wilma today, somebody dumped a bunch of concrete on somebody's yard. We've got, getting rid of that. Guy was very generous, he dumped his entire driveway there. Now he's gonna be removed. So,
Did we catch who dumped that?
we know who dumped it. It was actually at the request of that particular owner. He was hoping that he could use those materials as clean fill, only to be informed that he's not allowed to do that. So he'll be removing that at his own expense now. So the zoning plan, I'm on top of that. So we have those kind of things. We have to educate the public a little bit too. But there's some things we can't do without checking first, like put clean fill in the front yard and cover it up with dirt. Those are not things that we can do legally. So using trash cans and lids, that will go a long way in keeping our hilltops clean. We have an ordinance on the book. We encourage people to get trash cans, use the trash cans. Obviously, not everyone's going to do that, but a little common sense will go a long way too. Like, don't put your trash out until the day of or the night before. Raccoons are going to eat it, and cats are going to eat it. That's what they do. I mean, that's how they were made, and there's nothing you can do about it. So if you don't put it in the trash can, it's probably going to end up on your yard. And then you're going to have a visit from me. You'll probably end up visiting Judge Dunner. But we are citing people. I set a citation issue today on the 500 block of Grandview. We issued today several different ordinances there. We have someone coming to court tomorrow from the 400 block of Union. So citations are going out, warnings are going out. We're just trying to hit it. Obviously, we can't get everybody at one time, but we get one fish at a time, and it's your time on the hook, and you get to swallow that bait today.
I think we've, and I asked Chris and Sean to kind of reflect on, we've been at this for 5 months, and, you know, I think page 11 shows the totals, if I'm correct, Sean, 65 weed violations, 55 litter violations, 93 building violations,
Yes, sir.
and one other. I won't ask for that.
I'd have to go back and check.
But in all seriousness, you know, it appears we're, obviously that's a large number of violations. And I know they're working their way, either being resolved by the property owner or going to court. And I don't think Chris and Sean felt that there is a little bit of a disconnect. We saw value when we started at having Sean, from his perspective, going out with Anthony from the building. But the building takes a lot longer to go through the system than the weeds and litter. But I think we still see value in combining those efforts so that we assess an entire property. We know what its condition is in terms of weeds, litter, building violations, and we certainly want to move through it. I think we want to move through it strategically and in a workmanlike fashion and work it through, rather than kind of jumping around and getting a violation here, and coming back and doing a violation here. So I think we're on the right path. We just need, I think, keep at it and make certain, and we also need to loop back, I think. We talked about that. You know, some of the ones we violated in May, have those been completely taken care of and no subsequent issues? I probably doubt that. I think that we need to have follow-up to kind of go back and I think through this process and keeping this very focused and proactive approach in place, then it'll become institutionalized. It'll become a way of, where we'll have a high level of enforcement, and hopefully that will then continue in those neighborhoods for the foreseeable future. So.
Some of the pending too, particularly with the buildings, some of the pending advancements in buildings that are on the, to be knocked down list. So they'll be pending until they're done with it and stuff like that. So that, in case you have a question about that.
What does pending actually mean here?
Pending for me would mean actually for either one of us. Pending would basically mean either we have to go back and revisit, in other words, we gave them a date to be done by, so we're going to go back and check it, or they've been given additional time, or for instance, if buildings would be demoed, it just means pending demolition kind of thing like that. So it's more like a word for us just to remember we got to go back and double check.
So pending's not actually a court thing.
Right, correct. Yeah, not a court pending. It's just basically our amendment to ourselves, so we got to go back and double check.
And what does comp-WL?
Okay, comp basically means completion. WL would be weed or litter, and BLDG, of course, would be building.
Okay.
I think, yes, on page 18, there's a page 18 on mine. Page 18 has the, what I'm looking for, glossary of what everything is. Right, yes, right there, sir.
And just for information, the adverb, the one, is at 710 Oakmont.
Yes.
John, if I could,
Yes, sir.
how about like if someone's arrested or something, does court necessarily mean there was charges filed or?
Not necessarily. Well, no, I take it back. If it's weed or litter and it would say court, yes, because you would go to court on litter. If it's building, it means that that person's been cited into court. For instance, they didn't come in compliance at the time, so is that correct, Chris? They didn't come in compliance in 30 days?
At that point in time, they refer to the prosecutor.
And they get court or come into court.
Is there some kind of a code that, like, the court, like fine?
Oh, like what they got or something like
The
that?
court disposition, where they found guilty, could you add that in there sometime, maybe like where you could see the result of what the court was doing?
Oh.
You know what I mean?
Mhm, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we probably could do that. That would be hard.
Whether they found them guilty or whether they were fined, or
Yeah, we could probably do that. Just do a little research.
Kind of like the final.
disposition.
Close the loop.
Yeah, we could go back and do that.
Close that loop.
But you guys could do it too. I mean, I know I could do it for mine, because it'd be very simple, so it'd be flat.
In many cases,
I just always found there's a lack of what the court does, and I perceive the court as being maybe a little bit of,
Right,
Where
you see what's lenient,
held
not
up at.
lenient, right, absolutely. We have, I know like in my particular case, most people that are coming into court, it's a first time offense, the judge has been given a $150 fine plus court costs. If there's no repeat, great, but if it's a repeat offense under that amount's been up to the point of paying those the next time.
And
Yeah.
the other thing is, maybe a list of, there have been warrants issued, is that correct?
Warrants?
Warrants for people, for building code violations or litter or weeds?
For litter and weed, we haven't had any warrants in that year. I think for building code,
building,
if you're out of
if
court.
they fail to appear before.
Yeah, they've done some.
Could we, Chris, or whoever was
That'd be
breaking that,
Chris, yeah.
Chris, maybe if you could have a report of all the people that were, there's a warrant for?
Yes, I can try and defend.
Yeah, we've definitely had a few, some court bench warrants have been issued. Again, those have been mostly zoning, planning, and building issues. Yeah.
And only one more question.
Yes, sir.
Has anybody approached the judge? Has there been any dialogue back and forth with the court to tell the direness of the situation?
Yes, sir. I've talked with both judges. We used to, on the first offense, at one time, we used to let them come in, basically.
Well, these guys will come out, I mean, they're visitors, so I know, that's why I just was.
Oh, yeah, even in the past, with this, even with the new guy explaining, we used to give a, first time offense, we used to give a warning, maybe if they came in compliant, they would dismiss it, maybe dismiss the court process. So we, several months ago, Judge Spalding here, we instituted basically, we're not doing that anymore. If you get a ticket, you get a fine, that's the way it is.
Plus what's sad about it, I was just talking to Judge Nyler the other day, and he's already seen, second time offenders. So
Yeah.
he's getting a flavor of our town real quick, so he knows. He's only been here, 2 months?
2 months is out of the room.
Yeah, and you always see.
You don't want to leave now.
So if you
Same
didn't,
families,
he
same.
told me a day if you didn't mind living on a farm, it'd be a good time. Anything else, folks? Yes, sir.
I just got a comment and a heads up. The comment is I appreciate the effort you, Chris, Anthony, and Ronnie are doing. Obviously, we've got a big problem by the page, the summary page. And a citizen recently gave me a list of about 3 dozen code violations along with the CD documenting it that I'm going to be running through the channel here. I was out of town yesterday and I try to get it to Frankie before the week's over. And
Oh, okay.
if somebody wants the CD, I can give it to you.
I'd love it.
You want it?
I don't know if I'd love it.
It deals a lot with junk cars in side yards, backyards, high weeds.
And it identifies where they're at.
It identifies a license plate where they have license plate. It identifies parking in alleys, which is against the code. And it's
One thing that's very helpful, we at least going through the system, is if, like sometimes we'll get, like I've had some of those CDs and things like that, they're very helpful as far as knowing where things are at. If they get put into Frankie or Shirley or whoever, if they go in individually, in other words, sometimes people say, check the 1400 block. It's easier we can have an identification, if possible, like, 1401, 1403, because then everything is a separate thing, it's a separate entity into each report, and then we can deal with each one individually, and you can know exactly what house to go. So for instance, if it's a car, he's got like 10 things on there.
he's listed out the addresses.
Oh, good.
I mean,
Okay.
normally I only send in like a couple. This one's going to be like 30 some.
30 some, okay.
So I'll come down sometime this week, Tim, and drop the
That'd be
CD
great.
off to you. But do you want me to send it all the other stuff through Frankie, or just give it to you,
Just
the
give it
list?
to me.
Just
Yeah.
give you the list.
Yeah.
All right, I'll try to come down
Be
sometime
happy
this
to
week to take care of it.
Be great.
Soon, please.
What's that?
I said soon, please.
I'll be down this week.
I'm going to go forward then and I'll try to pick up the pace a little bit here. 'Cause I think
No problem.
we're running up against it, and I think I can do that. Just really quickly, and we talked about the role of urban design and improvement of our city right-of-ways. I've asked Chris to look at, developing a cross-section of what our typical street in the Hilltop neighborhoods should look like, recommend what improvements should be made in the public right-of-way, estimate cost, timeframe, capital improvements planning, certainly with 2015 coming up. Certainly one thing that struck me is just a large number of dead street trees in the hilltops, and some trees that just kind of lopped off. And I think we need to. I don't. I'm a little bit partial because I have a lot of city planning background, but I know we shouldn't underestimate the impact that can be made by the city looking at our right-of-way and seeing how we can improve everything from right-of-way to right-of-way. Our curb, gutters, streets, street trees, sidewalks. That will have a tremendous impact on our neighborhoods. Can we do it all in one fell swoop? No. Can we develop a phase or a phasing of it and look at where we need to do it, how we can get grant funds? Absolutely, I think we can do that. So hasn't said he won't do it or won't look at it. So I know that's right up his alley. But I think that if we reintroduce the charm, beauty, the distinctive neighborhood ethic of those areas, I know we can make another great impact on the quality of life in those neighborhoods and on the crime rate. The Hilltops Community Task Force, I'm hopeful that we can meet in November. We still need to populate that task force with more than just the chief of police and the city manager. So we need, really, in my estimation, 2 residents, 1 from each neighborhood. I think comprising it of a member of the business community, a member of the faith community, a member of the education community. I think if we do that, we'll have a real core of individuals that can talk honestly and openly and objectively about the challenges in these neighborhoods and what we're going to do about it. And certainly, if council has any suggestions, different groups that we should have on, I'd be really happy to hear that. Or if council thinks, we're going in the wrong direction, or we're going sideways, or we're going. But I think it's everywhere, everything I know about community policing, task force is an essential element of it. And it's just that partnership and that discussion. And again, that Mayor, as you mentioned early on, it can't be from government down or over or everything coming from us. That's just not going to work. It's not going to resonate with people. So I will continue to keep council apprised of that effort. Maybe the most important thing on this list. I don't know. Theoretically, it could. I know the chief is reaching out to I've asked him to reach out to other police departments in the valley. Chief, I know you've made some impact on that. I don't know if you have any comments, but it's good to hear what they're doing and it's good for them to get what we're doing. And, so I think that needs to be ongoing and expanded. I know weekly reports, the chief is providing those in terms of the response times and the rest, and you have to answer any questions on those. On our K-9 unit, I think I touched upon this last time, but or in an email, Patrolman Cook and the dog are scheduled to participate in the next available training class. Chief, is that still October 27th?
Yeah, sorry, it's a Monday, October 27th, 5 weeks.
And as I mentioned, with the my recommendations, or recommendations I've received from the chief and Finance Director Williams, we thoroughly vetted the issue of the vehicle, and we are pursuing a new SUV for the K-9 program based on those recommendations. I've asked Director Williams to follow our purchasing policy of such vehicles, purchasing those through state purchasing, to ensure we get the lowest possible price. And also, our policy has the ability to seek quotes from local vendors. If they'll match that or be less than that state purchasing price, so much the better. So that is ongoing, and we'll continue to report on that as well. I think, overall, I know the chief's pursuing grants. We're going to have more information on what we would hope to achieve through a safety levy or wage tax initiative in terms of additional officers, additional resources, and if we have additional resources, what will we be able to achieve with those? I think so often it's easy to say we just need more officers, we need more of this. I think we need to be very clear as to what we anticipate achieving with those resources if, for that to resonate with our residents. So, Mr. Chairman, that is our Hilltops Neighborhood Strategic Safety Plan. I'd be happy to answer any questions. We're working on this each and every day, and I think it's bearing fruit. Time will tell.
Thank you for your effort here. Thank you very much. And I want to thank the police chief and Officer Scott, everybody else involved. Anybody have any questions for Mr. Bolin or the police chief or Officer Scott?
No question or comment?
Yes, sir.
I'd just like to say, you know, we haven't said a lot as council members sitting up here tonight, Mr. Bowling, but I think that just tells you that I feel that we're going in the right direction. All the efforts that you talked from the cameras, you go back to 3 weeks ago when we mentioned the camera and the view. So that tells me that you're doing your due diligence in every respect as far as the chief goes, monitoring, you know, the patrols. And so every little thing that you're doing, it does matter. And I think that the public asked for a change and asked for something, and I just feel that between you and the departments that we're getting it done. Rome wasn't built in a day, but it was really nice when it was done. So.
Yes, that's right. Thank you. I appreciate that.
I know we're running out of time, I just want to explain, on the handouts, on the first page, I do this every week now in my weekly report, that there's the calls for service. And if you look, I just want to explain the units, that's not the number of calls, that's the number of cars that responded to the calls over the last month. So like if you look at alarms, there were 118 different cars responding because we get alarms. PD accidents, 48 because of the number of accidents we get. And then if you go to the second page, the average of all the calls with the cars arriving is 5 minutes, is the bottom line. But what that doesn't take into account is it's the average. So if you have a call where, say it's a shots fired call where you have 4 units respond, the first unit could get there within 30 seconds, and the last unit that would be furthest away could get there in 2 minutes. So it averages out those 4 cars. So, but this is the best we can do right now, giving council and the citizens an average response time. And then the crime stats are in there. And then I also added, for the month's arrests, you can go through them. I don't know whether you want this every month, but it has everybody that was arrested, minus the juvenile names, what they were arrested for. A possessed area arrest, if you see that, that means they had drugs. Those are pretty, I just want to explain the possessed area arrest, because you might not know what those are. Total arrests since the last meeting was 211, with 275 charges filed. So there was 211 people arrested, but there was 275 charges because some people got multiple charges. Do you understand? Well, I just want to explain that real quick, so when you went through that.
Thank you, Chief.
And did you want me to continue? I mean, this is really no problem. I mean, would you just rather have the number of arrests and the charges, or do you want the names? Because
Okay, yes.
you want to continue like this?
Yes,
Okay.
please, thank you. Anybody else? I have one question. Anybody else? Before I ask my question, everyone adjourn.
Well, I want to say, Sean, good job with all these code enforcement.
Yes.
Everybody that pages, he's following up on, how we're getting calls, complimenting him on the job that he's doing. Thank you.
Yes, and again, thank you, Chief and Sean and City Manager for everything you do. The only thing I gotta ask for, I wanna ask is, on the vehicle, the SUV for the police dog, when will that be due? Is it, I heard it was 3 to 4 months, 3 to 4 weeks.
It's 60 to 90 days.
Okay.
So what I did in the meantime is I found a used cage for $150. and we're going to install it in one of the old Crown Victorias that would be retired in the spring.
Okay.
So we can get this program underway. I talked to the trainer, he said it won't make any difference, it'll be fine.
Okay,
So it'll just be until we get the new vehicle.
good. Because I didn't want the downtime with the dog, and I know him and Rob,
Right.
Bond and all that. He or she, I don't know what the dog might be.
I don't know. Either.
Yes. Rob is, I talked to Rob the other day, so, okay. Anything other than that? Yes, sir.
On that, did we order the vehicle, chief, or have we ordered the vehicle?
No, Stacy and I are going to look at that tomorrow.
Any other questions?
I can certainly address some of these other items in response to
Okay.
my report.
Okay, we'll go back to that, and, we'll talk about today, what we're gonna do next one, probably a month or so. Okay, anything else? All right, with that, I make a motion to adjourn the safety committee meeting tonight.
Second.
Thank you.
Mr. Paul?
Here.
Mr. Romagna?
Here.
Mr. Davis?
Here.
Mr. DiLoretto?
Here.
Mr. Johnson?
Here.
Ms. Curto?
Here.
All members of council are here and accounted for with the exception of Mr. Metcalf. Mr.
I
DiLoretto.
so move that Mr. Metcalf be excused.
Second.
It's been regularly moved and seconded that Mr. Metcalf be excused from tonight's council meeting. Roll call.
Mr. Paul?
Aye.
Mr. Romagna?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. DiLoretto?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Ms. Curto?
Aye.
So moved. Mr. Metcalf is excused from tonight's council meeting. The purpose of this meeting is to bring forth legislation that will be considered by city council at a future date. With that, we'll start off with Mr. Paul.
I have nothing to say, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Paul. Mr. Bill Magna?
I have nothing.
Thank you, Mr. Bill Magna. Mr. Davis?
I have nothing this evening, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Mr. Dioretta?
Yes, Your Honor, I have two ordinances. An ordinance authorizing and directing the city manager to make application for an emergency grant from the Ohio Public Works Commission to be used towards funding the city of Steubenville Spawns Branch sanitary sewer emergency repair. City project number 2014-137. Executive contracts as required and declared an emergency. Good job. Ordinance number 2014-125. An ordinance authorizing and directing the city manager to enter into a contract with ADR and Associates, LTD, for professional engineering services for the Loretta Drive water line replacement project. City project number 2014-126 and declaring an emergency. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Dioretta. We will continue on to Mr. Johnson.
Nothing, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Ms. Curdaw?
Yes, Your Honor. Up under Buildings and Grounds Committee, an ordinance 2014-126, an ordinance accepting, an ordinance accepting a signed easement between the City of Steubenville and Fort Steuben Corporation, LLC. And also, under Planning and Zoning Commission, I'd like to sunshine an ordinance for the House of Faith in 2017 Sunset Properties. Owners of property totaling 0.3 acres in size located at 1907 and 1903 Estelle Avenue. Moved it from an R1 low-density residential district to a B2 community commercial district. And then, Your Honor, I'm going to, kind of the term is yield, but I'm going to pass back to Mr. Johnson for the last one. This was his baby, and I'm going to take that.
Thank you, Ms. Curdaw.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes, Your Honor, I would like to sunshine an ordinance for the creation of a neighborhood conservation district, the Alexander Manor neighborhood.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. That will conclude the sunshining of legislation. No other reports. We will now move to public forum. Is there anyone wishing to speak to City Council on city business? Please come forward, state their name and address.
Jerome Haggerty, 4820 Toyota Drive, Steubenville. The closing of Pizza Pie Park. In my opinion, and in the opinion of the vast majority of the people I've spoken to, it set the wrong signal. You surrendered to the drug dealers and the lowlifes. You ran up the white flag and said, we give up. When it was the exact opposite of what should have been done. I feel it was a knee-jerk reaction. There's been shootings all over the town, and to my knowledge, that's the first one in that vicinity. So you close the park. Wouldn't it have been better to put up notices, this park closes at dark, and then enforce it as trespassing after dark? Wouldn't that have been a better idea? There was a murder last summer within a stone's throw of Murphy Field, and we didn't close Murphy Field. I'm on a hilltop every day. I see kids playing there every day. It's a shame when the city says we're going to close the park because we can't protect the kids anymore. And that's the first job of government, is to protect the citizens. Not to throw up the white flag and say, we're getting out, you beat us. I know a vast majority of you guys here, and you're not quitters. I don't understand. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hagerty. Is there anyone else wishing to speak to City Council on city business? Please come forward, state their name and address. If not, Mr. Davis.
Your Honor, if there's no further business before this council this evening, I call for adjournment.
Second.
It's been really moved and seconded that we adjourn. Roll call.
Mr. Powell?
Aye.
Mr. Villagna?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. DeLoretto?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Ms. Kirkendall?
Aye.
So moved.